I am delighted to introduce the first session of the day from our insurance partners, Crombie Lockwood, on disaster recovery and planning for the unplannable. Given recent events, we know how important and real this is. Peter Murphy, a Senior Business Development Manager at Crombie Lockwood, is going to talk you through the importance of having a disaster recovery plan. Peter is a born and bred, passionate Wellingtonian. He has worked in the insurance and risk management sector for the past 15 years, so has a lot of experience on how to set your businesses up to survive these events. Peter.
So I'm going to talk a little bit about, firstly, about risk management in your business. So risk is categorised into a number of kind of monitors. So you can have very low risk, medium risk and high risk. So an example, if you take the role that I have, I'm an insurance broker. So a lot of the time I'm doing calculations, I'm working with clients, I'm doing a lot of, I'm a bit of a keyboard warrior. So I might get the odd paper cut, but the work that I do is pretty low risk. So I sit at this end. It's around the other way, isn't it? So I sit at this end. That's opposite. So I sit at that end of the risk sort of guide or measure. What I also do is I go out, excuse me, and see clients. So what I do is I jump in my car and I go and visit clients. So what I do then is I might go around a factory or I might go and see someone. So my risk or the activities that I do, they increase. And then just last week with a property development company, I'm actually walking around the exterior scaffold on a building. So I'm getting up the scale there when it comes to the risks that I'm taking. I'm probably not at this end here, which is high risk. I'm not in the forest cutting trees down, etc. So that's just an example of how all of your businesses will operate a little bit differently, and you'll have risks at different levels that you need to be aware of. So the next way that you deal with risk management is there's kind of 4 principles to how you do that. And that's to accept the risk that's there, to reduce it, to transfer it, or to avoid it. So they're the kind of the ways that you can manage risk. And let's talk about those 4 very quickly. So let's just take the issue of rising sea level in New Zealand. So there are a number of properties. So if we look at accepting the risk to start with, there's an acceptance that rising sea levels will occur. And if you're in a property that's based in one of those areas, some of those people are just accepting that that's the risk that they have to face going forward. We can't change the climate. We're trying very hard to change the climate, aren't we? But we know that rising sea levels are an issue. So you can accept that risk is going to occur. In many cases, those residents have tried to reduce the risk. So that's the next kind of area here. And what they do in that area of reducing risk is they might build a seawall in front of their property. They might move their property back further, etc. So they're reducing the risk of their property getting damaged, etc. You can the next stage is you can avoid the risk altogether. So those people might decide to move away from that location and leave that property and move to a safe place. So you don't ever have that issue of that rising sea level affecting your property or your not necessarily business. Not a lot of business is built on the coast, but there are some. And then the 4th part, which is the most commonly used way of managing risk, is to transfer it. And that's what we do at Crombie Lockwood, is we manage risk transfer. And that's essentially, there's a number of ways you can do that, but the primary way to do that is via insurance. So that's what we do, and we work with businesses across New Zealand in managing their risk by helping them, assisting them with risk transfer, but also assisting them with business continuity plans. So, the need for business continuity, why do we need it? Jackie spoke very briefly around some of the events that have been occurring, certainly in New Zealand. I'll talk a little bit about those. But I wanted to start off at more of a global level for you and just talk about some of the things that are happening globally. So you'll see every day on the news weather and earthquakes and events are happening all around the world. So Munich Re are one of the largest reinsurance companies in the world, and what they do is they measure insurable loss around the world. So this is some data from 2022 that shows a number of events globally that are enormous insurable losses. So up to the middle of last year, around $65 billion worth of insurable losses across a number of events, across flooding events, fire events, earthquakes, etc. So as you can see, the global insurance market is challenged. So if you look at how that might look like on a graph, is global events are becoming more and more frequent. They're definitely linked to climate change, and a lot of these events that you're seeing are linked to climate change. Some people also say that earthquakes are linked to climate change, but there's great debate around that. So Munich Re are one of the largest reinsurers in the world, and in New Zealand we use what we call a primary insurance market. So the likes of NZI and Vero or QBE, these names might be familiar to you because they insure your businesses. They're a primary insurance market, and they're supported by the reinsurance market. So New Zealand's heavily reinsured because of the events that occur in New Zealand. We're not called Aotearoa for any other reason. The English translation is the land of the long white cloud, and that long white cloud puts a bit of rain and storms, etc., into New Zealand. So the global market for insurance is really important. And again, we're talking about the area of risk transfer. So the United States is an important part of our New Zealand risk transfer market. And again, the US just through 2022 had a number of massive weather events. So over 15 $1 billion or more category catastrophic loss events that occurred. And there's, I've got to get the right orientation here. So this one here, Hurricane Ian. So that hit the Florida coast at the end of September. And Hurricane Ian is likely to be the largest insurance event in the history, in our history. So at the moment, Hurricane Katrina is the largest weather event, insurable loss event at about $90 billion. So over 3 days, Hurricane Ian hit the Florida coast, and it's about $85 billion worth of insured loss at this stage. So that's not even in these numbers. So as you can see, globally there are weather events and events that are affecting what we call the risk transfer market. And just to sprinkle some cinnamon on your coffee on your Monday morning, we had our own couple of events that occurred just in January and February. So that's the Auckland anniversary floods and then Cyclone Gabriel. So just to give you some context, the Auckland flood events, New Zealand's largest ever insurable loss, largest weather event from an insurable loss perspective, and 6 weeks later, Cyclone Gabriel trumped that. So within a period of 6 weeks, we've had two of New Zealand's largest ever loss events. What you're seeing on the screen now is Crombie Lockwood claims. So we track claims via geospatial mapping. So every one of those dots is a claim event, and you can drill into those and look at all the details around each of those claims. So we're using technology in order to help and assist our clients to resolve claims and get them settled quickly. It's about 100,000 claims in total occurring or underway now because of those two events. So, and again, you'll see it all on the news around the events that occurred, the loss of life, and then again the socio-economic challenges that you get from these types of events. So if you take the example of 2022 in New Zealand, about $380 million worth of insured loss through storms. These two events on their own are somewhere between $5 to $7 billion worth of loss. So where I'm going with this, I'm trying to explain that risk transfer in New Zealand's becoming challenging and more costly. So what about Wellington? Let's drill into where we are with the city that we love. And as Jackie said, I'm a very passionate Wellingtonian. You might remember a little shake that we had in 2016. If you were here in the city, you'd know all about it. 3 minutes after midnight on the 16th of October 2016 was the Kaikoura earthquake. 7.8 on the Richter scale, second most powerful earthquake in New Zealand history. caused about $3 billion worth of damage. So we live and operate our businesses here in a seismic zone as well. A couple of things about that earthquake. It's 156 times more powerful than the Christchurch earthquake. Wellington was very lucky because there's a geographical region which is here called the Kaikoura Ranges, and it has an inland and an inward and a sea-bound range that absorbed a lot of the shockwave as it came towards Wellington. So if you ever get the chance, go and hug the Kaikoura Ranges if you're a Wellingtonian, because it certainly saved our bacon from that event. So a lot of massive claims that came out of that, and this is our own example here. Sorry, this is not on my slides. I don't know why that photo's there, but I'll talk about it. That's interesting. That's not supposed to be there. I don't know why it's there. How cool is that? So this is one of our brokers' cars, and if you notice the license plate on the back, it says Millwall, and that's one of the most disliked English football teams around. So that's the car to get damaged. So this sat in one of the first buildings that was demolished in our. So we're in the Reading Centre car park building. My phone's ringing. Sorry about that. It's a fine, isn't it? So this car was in the Reading car park building and undamaged in the building. So as the building was demolished by one of those big claw machines, they picked the car up and literally dropped it out of the building. So that's the an image of that. There's another vehicle beside it where they did the same thing too. This is supposed to be in the presentation, so thank you. This is our building, so Crombie Lockwood are in NEC House, and this is the damage that was done to our building. I'm going to get this orientation right. This here is a big, large piece of concrete that fell out of the ceiling area and landed on our New Zealand claims manager's desk. So of all the things to happen is that we don't want our claims manager to be hurt in any way, shape or form. So just to give you an example of that. One of the things that was quite unique and interesting from the earthquake was the failure of many new buildings around Wellington. So about 30 in total got demolished, and they're from an insurance perspective called a total insurable loss. So the one that's there that's probably all familiar to you is the BNZ Centre that's down on the waterfront, and that's $109 million total loss. And they won't rebuild any of those buildings down on the waterfront. They're now building the new BNZ Centre just across the road, which is an interesting thing. So we live in a very seismic area as well. So just setting the scene around why having a disaster recovery plan is really important when you're running a business in Wellington. What can go wrong? So the slides here are different to the ones that I've got, so I'm just going to ad lib here, okay? So obviously with Christchurch, lots of things happen there. We're looking at, again, ram raids, etc. Fires can occur to your business, etc. Flooding, so on and so forth. No one rings you, no one plans to have a fire in their premises. No one's rang me as one of my clients has said, Pete, at 2 a.m. tomorrow morning my building's going to catch on fire. So I don't think the lawyers, there's probably no lawyers or accountant in the room yet. When a client has a fire at 2 a.m. in the morning, they don't ring their lawyer or their accountant, they ring their insurance broker because they want to know what to do and how to work going forward. So lots of things can happen. You can get flooded, etc. That's a photo from the Auckland floods, and we might be aware that there's some ram raids going on as well. This might be familiar to you. Hopefully you've forgotten what these banners stand for. This is COVID. So COVID also affected our nation and certainly the world and you'll now we're now in very much a inflationary environment where supply chains are affected, etc. So COVID's not an insurable event, so I'm talking about risk transfer at the moment, so transferring the risk from your business to an insurer is primarily the way it goes. Pandemics are not an insurable event and never have been, so that's why when your business got interrupted during that period of time, you may have taken a payment from the government. So they paid you to pay for your wages, etc., depending on the size and scale of your business. So there's lots of things that go on that you can't do anything about. So what do you do about it? So how do you prepare your business for the unknown or the unforeseen? So it's really simple, and there's two things that I highly recommend that you do. And the first one, you combine these two things together, is to create an emergency response plan and then a business continuity plan. So the emergency response plan is the first part. So that's if the fire happens, this is the fire, what do you do in that first period of time? What do you do? How do you react? What are the things that you do? So having an emergency response plan is really important, because you're looking after the people. Firstly, you're looking after yourself, but then you're also looking after the people you employ, and then wanting to make sure that you can carry on with your business and have continuity for your business. So the second part of that is the more systematic approach. So you've dealt with the emergency. It's now working through the business and getting the business back up into play. So you're wanting to mitigate and reduce the loss to your business the most you can. So having an active business continuity plan is really important. It can be really simple, and we're going to give you some tools around that. Key to all of this is prepare for this in advance. So you don't want to be thinking about what do I do when the fire's happening. If you ring me, I'll tell you to be calm, because you deal with Crombie Lockwood and you'll be fine. But you need to have a good plan in place. All right, so just maybe a moment to ponder yourselves. I've just posed some questions up there. Have a little look at those, just to think about what your business might look like. If you had a large loss, what might you need to do to get your business back up and running to full capacity, and how long might that take? So just thinking about that for a moment. Maybe a show of hands to who has a active business continuity plan in their business. Yeah, wow, okay. So I'm pleased that I'm speaking to you this morning, because we can help you with that. I thought I'd get lots of hands. I go, we can improve it, help you with that, and then if you don't have one, we can help you with that. So I'm pleased we're here talking about it. Very good. So let's talk about that then, shall we? Let's put your plan in place. David, my colleague from Crombie Lockwood, helped me with his presentation last week and said, this guy looks a bit like you. Very cheeky. I think he's about 50 years older than me, but anyhow. So this is Dwight Eisenhower, and he was a famous US president, and plans are nothing and planning is everything. So planning and getting this ready before the unforeseen occurs is really important. I don't look like him, do I? Goodness me. Okay, so let me just talk you through the 5 concepts of putting your plan in place. I'm not going to go too much into detail, because it is early Monday morning, and we can talk offline, and we can help you. We've got some tools that you can take away at the end here too. So defining your purpose and your objectives around getting your business up and running is a really important first point, is getting a clear emergency recovery plan and disaster recovery plan in place. So identifying and assessing your exposures, so this is the second stage there. So it's doing a hazard assessment of your business. So if you think about what I was talking about earlier, can you still hear me here? I'm a keyboard warrior, so I'm out there, smoke coming off my keyboard screen because I type so quickly. So I'm doing that. That's at the low end. I get a paper cut every now and then. I go into the medium. So do I have a plan? Does our company have a plan about if I go and see a client and I walk around a factory, what happens then? When I drive my motor vehicle, what happens there? That's a dangerous activity. People crash motor vehicles, they get injured, there are fatalities. What do you do around a process or procedure if your staff are delivering items, or they're dealing with the public, etc. Through to that, when I went on that scaffold, I made sure that they took me through their safety plan. I had to put a hard hat on and a high-vis jacket. I looked really quite cool on that day, I think. A bit like Dwight was. Formulating your response then is, so you've identified the risks, then about what do we do, how do we take that forward, what things do we do if that happens, or what do we do, how do we coach, train and teach our staff what to do when they're simply like driving their vehicle or doing deliveries or whatever it might be. That's a high risk activity. Testing your plan is really important. It must be active. And one of the things that we do at Crombie Lockwood is that we have our disaster recovery planning and health and safety is the first thing on our agenda. When we have meetings, they're the first thing we talk about. We talk about that all the time, even though our business is quite, I would deem it low risk. Remember, keyboard warrior, that's me. It's quite low risk. Your activities in your business might be very different, and I assume they're very different to what I kind of do every day. And then finally, maintaining and updating the plan. Keep it alive. It's not. Some people have the good old plan sits on the shelf, and when you need it, you kind of blow off the dust, and you get to use it. That's a bit old school. It's probably all on the computer now, but that's traditionally how a disaster recovery plan's kind of been used. So maintain it, keep it going, practice with your staff what you need to do. So we're going to, the first phase there is just identifying those risks. So you need to do some analysis around that. We've got some guides and tools that'll help you here. And there's some really cool websites that I'll show you later. I'll just leave them with you to have a look at. So categorise those risks that you have from low, medium to high. You might have specialised production facilities. You may have equipment that's really key and essential for you to run your business. What happens if the fire occurs and that equipment's out of action? What's your plan around that key piece of equipment? What's your plan around key people that may be out of the business for a long period of time? Think about those things because they're hazards or risks to your business going forward. Is there anything else that you can think of as well that might be part of your risk profile? I'm not going to go into too much detail. So, building your plan, again, templates here, there's lots of templates you can go and have a look at, is have a clear response plan. My absolute message to you is you need to communicate this to your staff and to your employees about what you're doing. People like, one of the highest values employees have is working in a safe environment. So by providing that to them and showing them that you have a really clear business continuity plan and emergency response plan can add real value to your employees and real engagement with your staff. So this is not only just a common sense thing to do, you can create some real value with your employees. Tell them about the actions you're going to take if something happens. You don't have to do it all yourself as well. You can assign roles and create responsibility and accountability to other people. That's really important too. Give some of your staff the duties that come with this. An emergency contact list. Now this is probably my one takeaway. Go away and update that at the end of today. Make sure you know your staff's mobile phone numbers and then the person that they want you to contact if something happens. So you can ring Tom as your employee and Mary's their partner. You want to ring Mary to let Mary know that Tom's okay. We've had a fire in our cafeteria, our caf, but did I say, is it Mary? Mary's okay, she's good. It was Tom, wasn't it? Tom's okay. Yeah. Mary and Tom are okay. Here we go. So again, just about, do you have critical equipment? What about your suppliers? What happens to your business if you can't go back to your location tomorrow? There are many businesses in the Hawke's Bay, etc., that their businesses are full of, 2-3 metre full of silt. What do they do? What's their business continuity plan? So we're seeing lots of businesses that don't have any idea what to do. They really, it's sad. So again, this is what we're here today to do, is to reiterate the importance of it. Do you have really important systems? So what happens to your data? What happens if you can't use your data? How do you invoice your clients, etc.? How do you do that if you don't have a plan in place? So testing the plan is really important. So it has to be active. Again, don't let it sit on the shelf and so you blow the dust off when something happens and you go, oh, that's right, we did something somewhere. Let's go and grab that off the shelf. It's good to grab it off the shelf if you've got it. At least you've got something. So practice it with your staff, and what we do at Crombie Lockwood, even with our evacuations, we do a walkthrough. So we have 3 scenarios for our staff in a tsunami because we're in Williston Street and that's a tsunami zone, if anyone didn't know that already. So what we do is that if it's a long tail tsunami, we have an evacuation plan where we walk, we go up Langton Quay and then go up the Plymouth Steps to high ground. That's our first thing if the tsunami's long distance. If it's closer or immediate, so there's something let's say the Hikurangi subduction zone has faulted and there's a tsunami on its way to Wellington, we head up the building. We go up the building to level 11. So where we go right up the top of the building. So have you got an evacuation plan in place for your staff? Do they know it? If you ask them, what would they do? So you can walk that. We've done that. We've walked along the road, up the hill. Everyone's complaining. They're going, this hill's really steep. And I'm going, well, would you rather be safe or have be out of breath for about 5 minutes? So I think you'd rather be safe. So get someone else to review your plan as well. Get someone else to have a look at it. What I do a lot with clients is I peer review their business recovery plans, and what I do is I'm a fresh set of eyes. You operate in your business all of the time, and you get what I call it's like snow blindness. You're in your business every day, and you can't see what other people can see. You get someone to peer review it for you. So a lot of times I go into businesses and they go, Pete, every hazard that we have all been identified, And in many cases I'll go, have you considered this? What about that? Tell me about your tsunami evacuation plan. When you drop hole cover, what does it actually mean? Lots of different examples. So we have water under our desks in big containers, and that's if you're in that situation, you have to go under your desk and stay there, and there's an event and the building collapses. You've got fresh water by your desk. So that's a recovery thing that we do because that's what we've seen other clients do. Great, it's great to go and look at what other businesses do and share their ideas. So get someone else to critique it for you. I'm nearly there. How's my time? Am I looking okay? Tom and Mary, are they safe? That's good. All right, so that first 24 hours is 24 to 48 hours are really key. So we're in the emergency plan bit at the moment. So that might be you're looking at your damage assessment. You're looking at certainly, are all your employees safe? Are they well? Are they okay in regards to what's gone on? If your premises is out of action, do you have an alternative site? What might you do? How do you operate your IT systems? Can you work from home? If what their names again, Mary and Tom? Yes? Yeah. If Mary and Tom, can they work from home? What can they do? Can they operate in a different way when you're not working from your primary premise? Be very nice to your insurance broker as well. That's a really important part because we'll help you manage this period of time. We'll help you collate the information that you need to make an insurance claim. We'll also give you advice on how to, what's the best way to respond, and help you if you need with a business continuity plan. Are there extra expenses that you going to need to spend? And there's lots of the ANZ team here that I'm sure will lend you money if there's a situation. So stop smiling, you got ANZ guys. We're nearly there. So maintaining that plan is really important. So again, it's not a document that sits on the shelf. Practice. Do that walkthrough. If the fire alarm goes off, what happens? The lawyers that'll speak probably after me will tell you a lot about new employees. New employees are the most likely to be injured or hurt, or there is a fatality in your business. So new employees are really important. You've got to tell them about safety, what your health and safety protocols are, what your emergency plans are. they're really key, right? People that have been in the business for a while, they kind of know what to do, but your new employees, really key, is telling them and communicating with them about what your plans are and how to vacate the building, or how to deal with customers if customers are in your premise and you have an earthquake or there's a fire in the back, example, etc. All right, just some advice from us. So again, what we do at Crombie Lockwood, we've been the ANZ commercial insurance partner for 20 years. Our goal is to ensure that we position clients to financially survive any insurable event. So that's what we're all about, and we're really proud to have been working with the ANZ for 20 years in that space. So just to leave you, before I'm happy to take some questions, the first one is to create a plan for your home. That's really simple. There's this site here. It's the Wellington Regional Emergency Management Office. That's a great resource for you to go to create a plan for your home. So do that first. So that just quickly, the earthquake that occurred. So I live in Lyall Bay, and that's a tsunami zone where I live. Yay. Good choice, eh? What we do is I have a big grab and go bag that's in a hallway cupboard. We grab the grab and go bag and we go straight to my car and we drive. We go left and right, then up the hill, and we're up on the top of Melrose is where we go. All my family know that that's where our meeting point is, where our evacuation point is. The thing that I learned through that experience is we have an electric gate, and thankfully the power remained on. Because if the power had gone out, I didn't know how to manually open that gate, right? So we'd never practiced opening that gate. So now everybody, including myself, knows how to manually open that gate if the power goes out, because it's like a steel kind of gate. I ain't going to drive I don't think I could crash my car through it. So that was a real learning for me as an expert in telling other people and helping other people with their plans, that I hadn't practiced that. I didn't know what to do. So I overcame that, because now we have a little key that unlocks the box, and there's a manual crank thing in the box. Who knew that? Wow. So create a plan for your business. So you're responsible for looking after your employees. You're responsible for looking after yourself first, and then your employees. So you can do this. It's simple. It's really easy to do. The one thing I want you to do when you leave here today is go and update your emergency contact list. So go and do that, so that you know that Tom and Mary, you know Tom's contact details, and you know Mary's contact details, so you can ring Mary and let her know that Tom's okay. And of course I have to have a plug about insurance, of course. So review your insurance. So if you're a client of Crombie Lockwood, I'd like to think that we've done a good job with you and you are fully insured. But certainly if you'd like a second opinion, that's something that we do as well. So happy to talk to you further about that. Lots of great resources here, and we've got some here for you if you want to come and grab them, or I can give them to you as you kind of move on.